Well, welcome to the Profit by Design podcast. Rob, I'm so honored to have you with us today.
Please, I'm honored to be with you, Dr. Sabrina. You're the best.
Thank you.
I love hanging out with you.
Well, we've had some good times hanging out together recently.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that our paths have crossed.
Me
And
too.
as we dive in, I want to share a little bit with our profit designers as to why I have you here. At Tap the Potential, we have been supporting business owners for many years in taking their lives back from their businesses. And there are so many difficult feelings to manage in business as our businesses grow. You know, we add people to our teams, and then we have employee problems, and then we have cash flow problems as the business is growing. And one of the things that I've found is business owners really get caught up in reacting. And when we react, we make more and more decisions and choices that really we pay the dumb tax for ultimately. And one of the things that I have found so powerful for myself is meditation, and using a meditation practice to keep my own emotions in check. And I came across Rob's work a while back on meditation, and Rob has written the book, Do Nothing. And it's fascinating to me, the impact of just slowing down for 10 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, and doing nothing and meditating. And I won't lie, I've had my own struggles with this. Just sometimes, you know, when we get into that busy go, go, go mode, it's very hard to break that cycle and say, okay, no, I really need to step back and do nothing. So I've invited Rob here because I've seen the impact that meditation has had in my life, and I've seen the impact that it's having in our clients' lives. We have a lot of clients right now, Rob, who aren't sleeping well at night. And they're meditating. I tell them, if you're awake, just meditate, because you have no excuse at that point.
Like, as well.
You have nothing else to do and you're awake. So meditate. And that's really, I'm seeing that that's helping them quite a bit. And so you're an expert in this area, and I really want you to share with our listeners. And I would love to give your formal introduction too, so people really understand your background and where you're coming from, because you're an impressive leader, and we can learn from great leaders around us. And I think that's what's really interesting, is what do great leaders do? And you have some key things that I think you can share with us. So from Blow Pops to Forbes Best Small Companies, Rob started his first business in high school selling blow pops out of his locker. In 1991, he founded Image One with his best friend, Joel Perlman. Image One has been recognized as a top 25 small businesses in America on the list of Forbes Small Giant. I'm sorry, let me say that again. Image One has been recognized as a top 25 small businesses in America on the list of Forbes Small Giants, and Inc. magazine Best Places to Work as the #1 top workplace in Michigan, a national best and brightest company to work for, one of Inc. 5000's fastest growing private companies in America, a positive workplace by the University of Michigan's Stephen M. Ross School of Business, and Crane's Detroit Cool Places to Work. So, Rob, you're clearly nailing this great place to work and being a great leader and inspiring other leaders. Rob is the visionary CEO of the 10 Disciplines for Managing and Maximizing Your Energy, a video-based journey that teaches people 10 fast, simple, powerful, and fully customizable disciplines to manage and maximize their energy and live an optimal life. He's the author of the best-selling book, Do Nothing, the most rewarding leadership challenge you will ever take, and the host of the Leading with Genuine Care retreat and podcast. Rob challenges business leaders and entrepreneurs to look inward with mindfulness and meditation by sharing his own mindful leadership journey. So with that, Rob, let's dive into your journey with mindfulness, and what were some of the early days like for you at Image One?
Well, you know, as you mentioned, thank you for reading that, by the way. And I'm sorry we sent you a long version. I should have sent you the short version. my best friend and I, as you mentioned, we went from the blow pops in high school, and then we started this company in 1991 when we graduated from college. We didn't know what we were doing, but we were just happy to have our own business. I mean, we were entrepreneurs from the get-go. Now, when we were selling blow pops and some of these other businesses that aren't mentioned in the bio that you read, it was so much fun. I can't even tell you. But when we got into real life business, where we had to make a living, we weren't in college anymore, we weren't in high school. Wow, was it tough. It took our relationship to new levels that we could have never imagined. And when I say that, very stressful levels. Because the fluidity of our relationship just changed. And I just have to say, Joel is my, as they say, brother from another mother. So this was very challenging. I also got married a year after I started the business. And my wife, Emily, and I had our first child, William, a couple of years later. So within the span of 5 years, I started the business with my best friend. I got married to my other best friend, and we had a child. And coming off a lot of the trauma that I'd experienced growing up, I just wasn't as good of a person as I needed to be, and really as I wanted to be. I could just feel it all inside of me. I could just feel it. And so I was searching, and I was in my 20s. And fortunately, I'm a curious person. And I tried different things. I went to therapy for many years, at least 15 years, which was very useful. Around about 2024, Joel and I actually sold our business, and we stayed on. We had an employment contract for 3 years. And then did I say in 2004? I said 2024, 2004. In 2005, that summer, I was at the height of my anxiety, even with all that therapy I'd gone to. And I had read about meditation in Time magazine. They had an article about it. Wasn't very common those days back then. But I kind of put it to the side because I thought it maybe wasn't for me. But that particular day, I thought about that article, what I had learned from reading it. And I just decided to go sit in a chair in my house and just kind of sit there for 5 minutes and focus on my breath. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know if I was doing it, quote unquote, right. And that's what I did. And at the end of those 5 minutes, I'd set an alarm. I felt better. Yeah. I felt calmer. I felt more ready to deal with things, because obviously my problems didn't go away. All the things that were causing me anxiety were still ever present. But I did feel calmer, and I was curious about that. And that's when I really started to look more into what this was all about. And the rest is history. It's been an important part of my life ever since. And it's a daily practice that I have. And as I mentioned, it's been useful. It's a tool for me.
Yeah. And I think as leaders, we have so much complexity that we're juggling on a daily basis, and all this input coming in, and we have our agenda and our things that we're trying to move forward. And it sometimes can feel like everything is just pressing on us. And I find for myself that a meditation practice, it just kind of calms the water. And I like to think about my brain as this jar of water with some rocks in it. And if I've had a hectic day or a hectic period of time, that jar can get shaken up and the water is cloudy and muddy. And there I am trying to make good decisions and be present with others. And sometimes it can feel like there's a wall between me and the people that I'm trying to communicate with. And I really feel like it's just that cloudy, fuzzy thinking from just too much stimulation in life. And the meditation practice really just settles that down. It allows that water to become clear. And like you said, the problems don't go away. The challenges don't go away. They're all still there, but there's a different way of relating to them. I'm curious, as you started your meditation practice, was it something for you where, okay, you did it one day and you had a great effect, it had a great effect, you felt different? How did you build it from there?
Well, I want to be the star student. So I found somebody who could teach me. So I just Googled, or I don't even remember back then. I think there was Google. In 2005, I searched out a local meditation teacher. Turns out she was a psychologist, and she used meditation for some of her clients. So I went to meet with her, and she asked me what I wanted to talk about. And I said, I really just want to learn meditation. And so she said, okay. So she grabbed a chair and two chairs. We sat across from each other, and she took me through the process. And let's just say it was another 5 minutes, like before, maybe 10. And at the end, I said, how did I do? And she said, you did great, because there's no wrong. It's all right. And I said, okay, but I'm coming back because I want to be the best student you ever seen. And I came back. She said, you don't need to, but I did. And we did the same thing, like exact same thing. And I said, how did I do? And she said the same thing. And I said, I get it. Okay. This isn't something to strive for. I don't need to be great at this. Yeah. It's just a practice. And every day for over 20, for going on 20 years, it's a practice. And it's just bringing yourself back to the present moment and recognizing how actually beautiful that is.
So I'm imagining that you probably had some of the same struggles that most of us have when we meditate. We have this idea that we're supposed to clear our mind.
Yeah.
And we should have no thoughts. And then I know for myself, I feel like, well, I'm thinking I must be failing. I'm not doing this right. So could you speak to that,
Thanks.
Rob?
Yeah, thanks for that question, because that's probably the most common thing. So actually, it's the opposite. We just want to be aware that we're thinking. Our minds are just wired. It's scientifically shown, that we are thinkers. Our minds are always going. They're on the lookout. It's on the lookout for us, and wants to protect us. Our ego, good ego, not so good ego, is always there, kind of, part of the conversation. And so when we sit and meditate, we just notice that I'm thinking. And when you notice that, you just became aware. And if you are able to bring yourself, this is part of the practice, to your breath, focusing on your breath for any amount of time, might be 5 seconds, 2 seconds, could be 2 minutes, and noticing that you are in the present moment, right here, right now. You're not in those dramas or those scenarios that you have going in your mind. Yeah. You're off somewhere into the future, or somewhere in the past. Those things aren't actually happening right now. You're actually sitting maybe in a chair or on a cushion or laying on a bed or whatever. That's what's actually happening right now.
Yes.
And when you recognize that, it's kind of funny, actually. Yeah. It's like, wow, I was really off somewhere, but I'm actually right here.
Yes.
And I'm breathing. And that's pretty cool.
As you're saying that, one of the things that I want to just share with you is with our Better Business, Better Life assessment, and we're doing ongoing research on the state of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
One finding that keeps coming up is that 8 out of 10 small business owners find it hard to switch off and not think about the business.
Yeah.
Like that's running through our heads constantly.
Yeah.
And meditation is the antidote for that, to just really recognize that that's even happening, and that all that stuff at night when we're waking up and we can't sleep, we're thinking about the business, that's not present right there with us. It's only in our head, and we are actually in our beds, and it's an opportunity to relax, and it's just creating that awareness of, I actually have an opportunity here to relax.
That's right.
I don't have to keep this stuff running through my head constantly.
Yeah. Well, and something that people can do that, is simple and practical, but not necessarily easy. You do have to practice it, is, just be okay, with whatever it is that's arising. So let's just say it's business stuff. You've got all kinds of things, you're laying in bed, you have an idea, there's a problem, you're stressed out. There's a team member, an employee that's said, at 5:30 they came in and said they were leaving What are you going to do? How are you going to replace them? Da, da, da. You know, it's 2:00 in the morning. You know, there's nothing you can do at that moment about it, yet you can't sleep, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
So the practice is just allowing those thoughts to float by, like, say, like clouds in the sky, you know, and just kind of notice that, like, you know, bring that visual that thought's a cloud, and you watch the cloud kind of like you're looking up at the sky, and you watch it kind of go by and let it go. And then try to just focus on your breath, and then it's going to come right back. And as you're going to feel that anxiety, and just try your best to look back up at the sky and let it fly by, let it float by, you know, and it's just that practice. It's hard. It's hard to do, but the more you do it, and it does take time, the more you do it, it starts to connect.
Yeah.
It starts to connect. Your mind's connecting to it. It's starting to understand, I am off somewhere else. There's nothing I can do right now. This is just causing me stress and anxiety, and it'll work itself out. I have trust in my abilities. I believe in what I can do. I've been here before. These are new challenges. I can handle them, whatever the case might be. You know, you got that because you're an entrepreneur. I mean,
Yes.
you got into this because you know how to handle challenges.
Right. Right. And, you know, if we think about meditation as learning a new skill, it's like any new skill that we learn. It takes a lot of practice. Most of us have decades of our minds and our thoughts just to go in, and no control being exerted around that. And meditation is not controlling your thoughts, by the way. I don't want to give that impression.
That's right.
But what you're doing when you're meditating is you're really building a muscle. And every time you practice, that ability to just be present and be in the moment gets stronger and stronger. So, Rob, I'm going to ask you the question that comes up over and over, like, where do I find time to meditate? I'm so busy.
Yeah, you are. You definitely are. Isn't that funny that we can't find time to do something like this? But, you know, I would challenge you to write down the things that you are doing and then decide what makes most sense. If the things that you're doing are causing you anxiety, maybe they're not causing you anxiety. Maybe you're at a point in your life or your business where everything's going wonderfully, you know, and you don't want to stop. You love the juice that gives you. But we know in our lives, maybe there's a few, but most of us, you know, we do have challenges that come at us just as much as the wonderful, you know, successes that come at us. So that's why it's important to find the time, make it a commitment, like anything else that you do. I won't preach it too much because I think your listeners know enough about habits and, you know, things like if you're going to work out, you know, you pick a time of the day and you try to do the same thing, those kinds of things. So I won't do too much of that. But what I will say is that by slowing down and being in stillness, your mind has a moment to re-energize. And by the way, your nervous system does as well. Because we just don't do that. We wake up, we go, and then we get into bed, which is a different type of rest because you're sleeping. And when you're meditating, you're upright, hopefully, and you're fully aware, which is it's just different. And so, you know, I would challenge that you could put your to-do list to the side. Many people have families and they feel like they're slighting their families. I would say you're doing your family a huge favor by settling down, settling your mind down like you used with the rocks and sand. You know, it's a great visual. I'm glad you shared that because it's one of my favorites. You shake up the glass, that's your mind. Now you're with your family and that's your mind. It's all fuzzy. But when it settles and you come out of the room or wherever you were and your family feels this calm energy from you.
Yeah.
Oh, what a gift you're giving them for that 15, 20, 30 minutes that you just took away from them. Believe me, they're going to really appreciate it. So are your employees, by the way. Your employees are going to appreciate it because you're going to be calmer. You're going to be more present with them. Your employees just want to be heard. They want to know that you're present. they're not looking for you to agree with them per se. They just want to make sure you heard them.
Yeah.
So many entrepreneurs, leaders, they don't listen. We're not really listening. While someone's sharing, we're solving, we're fixing. So the second, like 5 seconds before they aren't even done speaking, we're chiming in with what do you need to do? Go do this, go do that. That's not lifting up your team. That's not lifting up your employees. Give them your full energy. Pause before you answer. Just pause. Try it. Like, just count to 5. Might feel uncomfortable, but do it and see what arises for you. Hopefully there's like a set of questions that might arise for you that empowers your team member or your employee to go fix the problem themselves, even though you know the answer from like the second it came out of their mouth. You didn't really do them any favors if you gave them the answer. So by taking that time to settle down and be still and do a meditation, that can be the result of what the people around you feel, just a different energy.
I think this is so powerful because I think often we're not aware of our presence and its impact on others.
That's right.
And so when we're in reactive mode, we're in fight or flight, and we are giving off energy that is fight or flight energy, and it impacts the people around us. Years ago, when I worked in community mental health as a psychologist, and I would get called out into crisis situations, I'd have to go to the jail or the emergency room because someone was homicidal or suicidal. And walking into that situation, there's family members around who are stressed. The individual is stressed. And before I would walk in the room, I would take 3 deep breaths, and I'd walk in with that calm presence, and it would settle everyone down. And the situation was much easier to manage. But if I flew out of bed because the pager went off, got in my car and drove really fast and ran in there, I'm just bringing in that same fight or flight energy and just adding to the mix of the chaos. And so I want to invite our listeners to just play with this a little bit.
Yeah.
Before your next conversation with a team member, take some deep breaths.
Yeah.
Breathe deeply while you're talking to them and watch the impact, because we have our mirror neurons, and the other people will pick up on that. And what you shared about the space, like when you just leave a space that allows other thoughts to come in. And for us who are leaders, like you said, we should be asking the powerful questions that get our team members to think and solve the problems. And if we are not in a calm, present state, we're going to go into, let me fix it, and completely miss the boat. And that's when we do that, that's where we pay the dumb tax, because we create more and more problems where just simply slowing down. In the book, you have a quote from Tim Ferriss about how he relates to his meditation practice. And I think for anybody who just says, I'm too busy, I can't figure out where to fit this in, or, I just didn't have time today. Ferriss says there's a big payoff. When I meditate consistently, my reward is getting 30% to 50% more done in a day with 50% less stress, because I've done a warm up in recovering from distraction. So
that's good. Yeah.
I just think it makes us more effective.
Yeah, it definitely does. In life, it's how we show up. It's, how you greet the barista at the coffee shop. It's how you react to the circumstances when, you get cut off in traffic, or, somebody flips you the bird or something like that. It's things as simple as that, and, more complicated when you get into the people that are closest to you in your life, whether it be your employees or your family. And one of the things that I think is so great that you brought up was, just the breathing. I always like to, you reminded me of something that I like to share, which is, when you're young and you're a child and you're having a tantrum, some parents will say, calm down, take a deep breath, so we're advising our children or our grandchildren to calm down. Why are we telling that to them? What do we do when we have a tantrum? Because we have adult tantrums. They show up differently. Sometimes they're suppressed inside of us. In other words, the tantrum's going on inside here. But other than the energy, it's not coming out in tears or rolling around. It's not coming out the way. Children have so much to teach us about that. And then you watch the child, if they listen, and sometimes they don't, but if they listen and they're trying so hard to calm down and okay, I'm going to breathe, and you see them start to calm down. That's the same human you are. You're just older, hopefully wiser, but are you? I don't know. Let's forget, let's not forget that these kids are teaching us something, and here we are teaching it to them, but not practicing it ourselves. I know I like to take deep breaths during the day. And sometimes my wife will say something, I'll just be doing something and I won't even be thinking about it. I'll take a deep breath and she'll say, is everything okay? And I'll say, no, I had something going on in my head and I just needed a breath. And it really helped me release, not release the problem or it helped me kind of get a moment and be calm. And so, it can be as simple as that. Like you were saying, going into a stressful situation, just pause a minute, take a few deep breaths, go in. So very powerful.
So I know that this is not just for the business owners, that our team members need to hear this information too. Like we're all humans. We all have the same challenges. Yeah. So what are some ways that a business leader can introduce this to their teams?
Well, that's a great question. I was, because it became such a part of my life, and I started going on retreats that would be 7 to 10 days in silence. And I do that twice a year. I've been doing that twice a year for many, many years now. And so I wanted to be very thoughtful about, not being somebody who was going to come in and say, hey, everybody should meditate. That's going to solve all your problems, because that's just not true. And I'm not here to say that this is actually for every person. I mean, we all have our paths. And if you're curious and you are somebody who asks a lot of questions and you search a little, I'm sure you'll find something that brings you a daily peace, some daily peace. Some people pray, some people contemplate, some people journal, some people mix them all together. So my approach was just to do what I do. So I might just say to somebody, I'm just going to go in and meditate for 5 minutes. And then, then I'll come into the meeting and I might be a couple minutes later. I might be on time. That's what I'm going to be doing over here, that type of thing. Of course, when I did the retreat, just in the normal conversation, people would be curious about that. So that created conversation. And then, of course, I wrote the book at the prompting of some other entrepreneurs who were curious about it. And so that obviously our team got to know more and more about that. So all that to say, I never was really someone who was trying to integrate this intentionally into our culture. I just did what I did. And what I learned was some people were curious. Yeah. And when they were curious, then I would say, I'm happy to take you through it. I'm happy to talk to you about it. I don't know if it's something that'll be useful for you or not. Sometimes there was a group actually a couple of times that said, hey, can you lead us through a meditation? So that's a long way of saying there was no intentionality around it. And I think people at least got to experience it. Some people thought it was useful for them. Others didn't, and they may do other things, and others, it's nothing. One thing that we do that I really think is a great practice for any business, I really do. We start every meeting with what we call a minute to arrive. And so it goes like this. We simply, whoever's leading the meeting just says, hey, we're all coming right now from something busy. You were maybe in another meeting, maybe you were checking emails, maybe you were dealing with a family thing, whatever it might be. And here we are about to start a meeting on XYZ topic or topics. let's just pause for 60 seconds and just come to the present moment and think about how we're going to show up for each other during the next hour, 90 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. And just think about that. And we pause, and anybody can do whatever they want. They can pray, they could close their eyes, they can whatever. But we just pause and arrive, present moment, and then move into the meeting. It takes a minute. It's nothing. And it's so valuable. You see everyone coming in. Oh my God, people, sometimes they're a couple minutes late. And then after the minute, you see a different energy. 1 minute.
I love that.
For some, it's uncomfortable, at the beginning, but once you get in the routine with it, it's just what you do.
Yeah. It sets an intention that we're going to be present with each other through this meeting. And I love the question of how are we going to come together and support each other in this time together.
Yeah.
That's very powerful. You lead the Do Nothing retreats.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear you talk about that.
Sure.
And what those experiences are like for the people who participate.
Well, the retreat came from my passion for wanting to answer some of these questions that so many entrepreneurs and leaders would ask me over the years about what happens when I go away for these 7 to 10 day silent retreats. And I started to ask, well, do you think you could do 7 days? Because you can find out on your own, trying to glean off me, you really kind of have to experience it. And, pretty consistently, I heard no way could I do 7 to 10 days. So I said, how many days do you think you could do? And the common answer was 2 or 3. So I started to say, well, what if I put together a retreat that was 2 or 3 days in silence? Would you try it? And so I had enough people that said they would, and that was a number of years ago. And that's what kind of was the inspiration around that. So what we do is it's 5 days total. We arrive, we kind of get to know each other a little. Then we go 3 days in silence. And then on the 5th day, we come out of silence together. And we have a little fun ceremony about what kind of arose for us during those 3 days. And during that ceremony, it's a very common theme, challenging at first, scary at first, but then actually quite beautiful and much less difficult than expected. That's I always hear that, much less difficult than I expected. Not that people don't have their moments, but it's actually quite peaceful, because we have to understand, when we were born into this world, the second we came out, we've been busy. We had a great situation. We were in the womb. It was really comfortable. We were chill. And then we came out into this freezing cold world and lots of people and lights and what the heck did you just do to me? And it was go, we haven't had a moment to do this. And so it's really a gift that you give yourself that, really exudes out to the world once you're done with it. And there's 2 things I want to talk about when you're in silence for some period of time. The first is your awareness begins to heighten of everything. You could see an insect, 10 feet in front of you and just think it's the most interesting thing you've ever watched walk around and do whatever it's doing. We're so busy, we don't have time to notice the beauty of something like that. And I use an insect because most people probably don't think insects are beautiful, but you do see the beauty also around wherever you're at, because you're not just sitting the whole time meditating, you're outside sometimes and you just see things, and everything's a bit more vivid. Every day it gets more and more vivid. So that's something that I always like to share. The second thing is you start to feel a peacefulness. So you all of a sudden understand what that peacefulness actually feels like. And once you're back into your normal everyday routines, when you get caught up, which you will pretty much within 24 hours, something is going to hit at you.
Yeah.
You can tap into that feeling because, you know, it's like a muscle memory.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you play a sport, you know, sometimes you have muscle memory, you know how to swing the club or to shoot the ball or hit the ball or whatever it might be. Or if you're a musician, you have muscle memory that way. This is the same thing. So you know how to tap into that intuitively and sometimes consciously.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, okay, yeah, let me go back to that feeling. And that serves you, which translates into how you're serving the people around you.
So it becomes an anchor point that you can go back to.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
I'm fascinated. And I know I've never done, you know, a multi-day silent retreat. So I'm really fascinated by this process, but I do know what you're speaking about in terms of things becoming more vivid. In our Breakthroughs retreat, we gave a space of about, I think, 15 minutes out of just one of the busy days. And we told our participants, go sit outside, just go wander. 15 minutes, don't talk to each other, just find a spot that makes you feel happy and just be there. And we all came back together, and one of our participants commented, he said, I've been here for 2 days and I hadn't noticed there were ducks out there.
Great.
You know, like there's life going on around us.
Yes.
All the time. And we don't see it.
That's right.
There. And I also, you know, thinking about that anchor point when we meditate, and especially for the first times that we're meditating or we're doing any kind of breathing, I think it's so valuable to pay attention to how we feel afterward, not how we felt during, because a lot of times that's frustration because, oh, those thoughts are just going everywhere and I can't settle down. But even if you have that experience, when you come out of the meditation and you pay attention to how you feel, usually you feel different and usually you feel better, even if it wasn't a perfect meditation where your mind turned off.
Yeah.
And it's that awareness that we can go back to. And like your wife notices that you take those deep breaths. That's just a non-conscious way now, probably for you just to ground yourself and get centered. And it's starting to happen automatically. And so for those listening who are like, well, Rob's been doing this for 20 years. I don't know if I could ever get to that space. I don't have 20 years left. You start now and just build up and practice, and it will come, and you will find that it becomes more and more of a habit, and at some point it becomes something that you don't want to skip because people notice, like you I'm sure people around you notice if you miss your meditation for a while. There's a different energy from Rob.
You're not going to believe this, but I don't miss it.
I do believe that.
I literally have not missed a meditation, even when I've been sick. I don't know what it is, but that's just me. But you're right. I do think if people do miss, I have actually a close friend that I don't know if you know Bo Burlingham, but I know you know of him.
I know of him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he has a meditation practice, and he always talks about how his wife will notice when he misses it. She'll say, Bo, you need to go meditate.
Yeah. And so that's that reinforcement that we want around us, where the people who love us encourage us to go do the things we need to do to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, as we wrap up, and I'm just curious, if you were to go back and talk to yourself, 20 years ago or 21 years ago, and share something that would be very powerful with yourself back then about what you know now, what would you share?
Well, I wouldn't get in the way of me. So I wouldn't share anything. I would just allow my journey to unfold the way it needed to, because my belief is that we're where we're at based on the experiences we had. So if I had something like that, a seed planted like that, then I may not have had the experiences that bring me here today, speaking with you right here, right now, in this present moment. So I'm grateful for all that, and whatever the angst that I experienced and will continue to experience in my life, I know that it's all just wisdom that I need to gain. And I'm sure it's going to take a lifetime and then some to get what I need. Let me tell you.
Those are beautiful words of wisdom right there. Everything is just part of the experience, and the challenges we have make us better human beings.
That's right.
When we learn from them.
That's right.
So how can people get in touch with you if they're curious about the Do Nothing retreats? Mm-hmm. And I also want to give you a chance to talk about the 10 disciplines, because it sounds like a very powerful program. I've gotten to experience pieces of it when you've had me present.
Yeah, you came in. Thank you for that. Yeah. So I'll start with the 10 disciplines. These are 10 disciplines that my business partner, Gino Wickman, came up with, and the two of us came together to teach them to the world. Their purpose is to help you manage and maximize your energy, not your energy, like, physical energy. It's the energy that exudes from you. All high performers, the best, know how to manage their energy. So we take our clients through all 10. They sound really simple on the surface, but when you try to integrate them all together, it's very difficult. So we help our clients build a strong foundation. And we do that because when you have that strong foundation in place, you can begin to be free. So you have freedom. And what we mean by freedom is that you have space in your mind, space in your body, space in your life to allow your creativity to spark the way the world really wants it to. And when your creativity starts to spark, you start to realize the sort of impact that you can make on this world. And let me tell you, as the people that are listening to this, entrepreneurs, you were made for impact. That's why you're doing what you're doing. I don't care if you're selling, heating and cooling supplies, or, you're the next tech, whatever. You're here for impact. That is the path you're on. You have only scratched the surface of what you are capable of. But you got to have that space, and you can't get it without a strong foundation that gives it to you. And the 10 disciplines are what do that. And for that, you can go to the 10disciplines.com, and it explains everything right there. We also have a checkup there where you can kind of see where you rank with each, and then you could get your total score. And then,
I also want to share the 10 disciplines are outlined in the EOS Life. And so it's a quick read. And like Rob said, these are on the surface, they sound easy, but it's not. You got to integrate it. You got to live it. And where I think this is so powerful is for those of you who are getting your business in that place where it's no longer running your life, where you're taking your life back from your business. You really have that opportunity to do that work on yourself, that inner work for how you're going to show up as that strong, powerful human being that is going to have that impact. And that's what I'm excited about with these 10 disciplines is we have so much human potential. And you all are teaching how to tap into it.
Yeah. And you are too, by the way. So thank you for that. And you've been a huge inspiration for us. And so thank you for everything, and your generosity and your wisdom, which, is so valuable for our clients. And so I appreciate you for that, Sabrina.
Thank you, Rob. And you were going to talk about the retreats as well.
Yes. And the retreat. Yeah, you can go to donothingbook.com, and it'll be right there, right at the first page. And you can learn everything you ever want to learn about what the retreat's all about.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Rob.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure, and I'm so grateful to you and to all your listeners. I wish them all much love and gratitude.